Okay, everybody, so the goal for these next series of lessons and kind of videos is going to be to get you to be able to create something like what's on the screen here. I call this falling rain. It's basically I'm creating a bunch of dots and having them kind of move through our screen. So over the next few lessons, I'm going to start with maybe an easier version of this starting today, and then we're going to kind of work out the sophistication until you can make something like this. So let's get started with that today. I think the first place we need to start with is in this animation, in this let's do that. Okay. So the first thing we do is add animation to our JavaDraw. So right now, for many of us, last time we just kind of created a static image that wasn't changing, nothing really moving too much on there. But we want to make some animation so and in this case, it really just means that our screen is updating very frequently to account for any kind of changes in any of the shapes that we have on the screen. So we can figure out how to do this. Actually, if you go to the quick start examples if you go to JavaDraw and then find the quick start examples down here, and many of you have done this already, we can get to it right down. Really in here is the main part of the code, and really we don't even need all of this. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at the start method. So the start method in JavaDraw is the thing that gets run first. So when our code runs, it's going to open up the main method, and then it's going to go directly to this start method that's here. And what we want to do is just create a forever loop in there that's going to be constantly updating the screen. And that's what we can see is kind of going on here. And we do this in a lot of different ways. I'm going to file this kind of setup. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a Boolean called running. I don't necessarily need to have this, but maybe I want to have it so it stops running later. I'll make this as a quick Boolean here. What I'm going to say is while running. So basically, unless I somehow change running to be false later on, this code is always going to be running. We're always going to be in this forever loop. And the way this is going to work is like we're going to be in this forever loop again and again and again. But then whenever we click somewhere, or if we do any kind of mouse input or keyboard input, it'll break the loop to do that, to handle the mouse click, and it'll go back to looping. So that's really a neat way that we can have stuff constantly appearing on the screen, but also taking in inputs from the keyboard, from the mouse. So what we need to do is we have this forever loop in here, and it's actually really, really easy. All we need to do is this thing right here, screen.update. So say screen.update, which, as you might imagine, is going to have the screen update whatever's on there. And then also, in order to not use up all of our resources, we don't want to have it refreshing constantly. We want to have some sort of break in there. So I'm going to put this in, and again, some of you may have done this already, or maybe we've talked about this before, but we're going to use the sleep thing. And basically what this tells us is that the screen should sleep for a certain amount of time. The amount of time is defined by whatever we put in here. So if I do this, my screen is going to update, and then it's going to wait for 1 second based on this parameter in here, this argument in here, and then it'll go back into running. So it's going to kind of pause here for a second. And that's just a way where we're not constantly updating the screen, right, using up all of our resources. 1 second is it might seem like very frequent, but typically we do it more often, like maybe 30 times in a second. So what we can actually do in here is say sleep for 1 divided by 30. And so make sure that's 30 divided by 0. Make sure that's actually going to be a double. And so basically what's going to happen here is it's going to sleep for every 30th of a second, it's going to refresh the screen. So it'll sleep for only a very short amount of time and then refresh the screen. And this, I mean, if you're familiar with video games, is like frames per second. How often is the screen refreshing? Ours is going to be refreshing 30 times every second. And that's basically all you need to know for animation, just doing this. It's going to just constantly be in that cycle of updating the screen. And then whenever we click on something, it's going to take a quick break to run that, and then they'll go back to updating the screen. So it's a really simple but powerful way to get our screen to have some animation on there and kind of be doing some updating. So the rest of your task in here, what I want you to do for this task is to update the mouse down. And what I want you to do is I want you to, whenever you click on the screen, I want you to create a raindrop that's going to fall after you click it. So if you click it, it's going to appear on the screen, and then it's going to start falling. If we click it, we're going to add another raindrop, and it's also going to fall. So I will give you a quick example of what that might look like.